Sam, thanks for joining us to reflect on the season. How satisfied are you with the last 10 months or whatever it is for Derby County women?
It's been a roller coaster. I think there's been some highs, there's been some lows. I think we can't get away from the fact that overall probably disappointed with the overall league finish. Obviously the cup was nice. It was nice to win that, so that was a positive. So yeah, a little bit mixed, to be honest. I think the overarching feeling is probably a little bit disappointed in probably our league finish.
Let's separate the two and let's deal with the positive one first. I suppose the memories of the National League plate will always stay with everyone. How do you look back on the competition and I suppose the final more than anything now?
Yeah, it was a really important competition. Obviously, when we lost the first sort of League Cup game to go into the plate, I think we had to look at that and it kind of give us a bit of a focus for the rest of the season in terms of very much looked at that and went, that's now a competition that we have to go and win. And the girls have done really well at that because there was some sticky moments along that journey as well where we played some good teams. So I think to go and win that was really nice. It was really good for like the girls. A lot of those girls players had never played in finals before, so I think to experience the whole sort of celebration thing. And how many appearances that trophy's had sort of since then probably tells you quite a lot about how important that was to us.
Was there a bit of pressure as well, given the stature of the club in that competition?
Yeah, definitely. I think straight away, as soon as we saw kind of the teams that had ended up in the play, it was, I think straight away, like Derby should win that. Derby have to go and win that, and I think we felt that straight away. But like I say, on a positive note, I think it did give us some kind of real focus and determination to make sure that we did achieve that.
What about the league then? 4th a season ago, 7th in National League North this season. Does that tell the full story for you?
Yeah, I think it does, to be fair. I think we've not had a consistent season. We've had some of our best games against some of the top teams, like I say. You can't get away from the fact that we beat Forest this year, we drew with Forest this year, we beat Burnley last game of the season, both sort of finishing in kind of the top 3. But then we probably let ourselves down quite regularly against some of the teams that we looked at that go, we should have probably beat them. So inconsistency has probably been a good word this year. It's not an excuse, but I think losing kind of Bex McGruver so early on in the season, then Meg Tinsley, a lot of our kind of style was based around sort of some of those fullback areas this year, and losing those two probably had a bigger impact than probably what I expected. So yeah.
We talked start of the season and you made the point it's almost become a couple of leagues within a league with a top 3 or 4. Is the major disappointment that you weren't, the best of the rest, if you like?
Yeah, I think that was probably our target going into this season. We needed to make sure that we stayed within that top pack, whether that be just below them or whatever. I think we always know we can compete. I don't think there's any game that we ever go into kind of writing ourselves off. So I think we always know we're a competitive team. Like to think kind of we're hard to beat. So yeah, that was probably the most disappointing thing, that we didn't quite finish the top of that sort of second pack, if that's the way you want to put it.
You mentioned the disruption with the injuries, but you had players leave, you had changes last summer as well. Did all of that have a bit more of an effect than you would have liked?
Yeah, it's probably the most disruptive season that we've had in terms of we had a bit of a turnaround kind of in staff of some staff sort of moving on, others kind of coming in, which took a little bit of adapting to. Obviously, like it's probably the most players we've lost in a season, and I totally get that. A lot was down to sort of game time and players wanting to play, and like I say, I've been a player, I get that. I get players wanting to make sure that they're starting games and getting plenty of game time, but losing that and then having to replace and stepping like youngsters up from the development and things like that. So I think the bigger picture on a whole, there has been quite a lot of change and disruption this season that's probably had a bit of an impact.
On the development side, there was the female talent pathway established at the start of the season, and I know really sort of the fruits of that will come in years to come. But just a word on the impact that younger players have had for you this season, because a few have come through already.
Yeah, look, I think there's some real talented kind of youngsters in there. Whether some have been ready for the first team or not, I'm not sure, but there's certainly some good players, and the ones that have had exposure to the first team, whether that just be in a training capacity or whether it's the ones that have actually managed to get some minutes on a Sunday, I've certainly seen like improvements in those players. So I think that's an exciting venture kind of going forward. Like you said, there's some real talent in the bottom end of it that will probably, hopefully, if we manage to keep them, rise to the top in years to come. But yeah, I think it's an exciting project. I've literally got a meeting with them straight after this. So yeah, I think there's a real sort of sense of joint working and working together, and yeah, just young players can now see kind of bottom to top.
What are the big lessons that you've learned from this season, do you think?
Oh God, where do I start? It's probably been one of my personally biggest like learning curves this year. Made some good decisions, some bad decisions. I think as a manager you have to stand by that. I think the biggest thing is that you learn from that. I think just the importance of kind of collaboration and making sure that staff, players are all on the same page for kind of the goal that's set and things like that. So I think it's something that we'll be looking at next year in terms of better joint working together.
And what is the plan? I know it's one season's only just finished, but these things are relentless, aren't they? What is the plan as you start to prepare for next season?
It's exciting, like really exciting. We had a call this morning off Stephen, the CEO, which sort of landed with some good news for us. So really excited to kind of get going now. Obviously the players are on downtime. So yeah, it's just be an exciting season next season. Obviously don't want to say too much and put too much out there, but yeah, I think we'll be in a good place next year and ready to go again and ready to compete.